Already on day 5. So go to classroom, go to classwork, classroom, classwork, go down AMI day 5. On today, we read uh, a new article. Let me reduce. Hi, I'm in the same spot on the couch. We're going to read an article on why we vote in November because they're already talking about elections. You're seeing Republicans and Democrats disrespecting each other. Let's go and figure out why it's November when we vote. Why do we vote on a Tuesday in November? By Evan Andrews, 2016. This article is provided courtesy of History.com. Ever wonder why elections are held on Tuesdays? The answer lies with America's 19th century farmers. Americans first began the custom of weekday voting in 1845 when Congress passed a federal law designating the first Tuesday following the first Monday in November as Election Day. Before then, states were allowed to hold elections any time they pleased within a 34-day period before the first Wednesday in December. But this system had a few crucial flaws. Knowing the early voting results could affect turnout and sway opinion in states that held late elections. And those same last minute voters could potentially decide the outcome of the entire election. Faced with these issues, Congress created the current election day in the hope of streamlining the voting process. But why Tuesday in November? The answer stems from the agrarian makeup of 19th century America. Now, agrarian is an important word here. In the 1800s, most citizens worked as farmers and lived far from their polling places. Since people often traveled at least a day to vote, lawmakers needed to allow a 2-day window for election day. Weekends were impractical since most people spent Sundays in church, and Wednesday was market day for farmers. With this in mind, Tuesday was selected as the first and most convenient day of the week to hold elections. Farm culture also explains why Election Day always falls in November. Spring and early summer elections were thought to interfere with the planting season, and late summer and early fall elections overlapped with the harvest. That left the late fall month of November after the harvest was complete, but before the arrival of harsh winter weather, as the best choice. And that's your whole article. So let's see, that has a lot of little jewels in it. Let's see what we have for our questions. When we look, AMI Day 5, why vote on a Tuesday in November? Scroll down, question number 1. It says, read these sentences from the text. Before then, 1845, states were allowed to hold elections anytime they pleased within a 34-day period before the first Wednesday in December. But this system had a few crucial flaws. Knowing the early voting results could affect turnout and sway opinions in states that held late elections, and those same last minute voters could potentially decide the outcome of the entire election. Based on this evidence, what was probably one of the crucial flaws in the voting system before 1845? A, voters had trouble keeping track of when elections were scheduled in their state. B, people who voted early often changed their mind and tried to vote again in another state. C, voters in states with late elections had more power over the outcome of elections than voters in states with earlier elections. And D, voters in states with late elections had less power over the outcome of elections than voters in states with earlier elections. Look at those, think about them carefully, and you do need to base your answer on evidence from the text. Number 2, read these sentences from the text. In In the 1800s, most citizens worked as farmers and lived far from their polling place. Since people often traveled at least a day to vote, lawmakers needed to allow a 2-day window for election day. Weekends were impractical since most people spent Sundays in church, and Wednesday was market day for farmers. Uh, with this in mind, Tuesday was selected as the first and most convenient day of the week to hold elections. Based on this evidence, what can you infer about the location of polling places? A. Polling places were probably near the markets to which farmers traveled. B. Polling places were probably far from the markets to which farmers traveled. C. Polling places were probably near the churches that most people attended. Or D. Polling places were probably far from the churches that most people attended. So really look up there at that information, um, because it does talk about where farmers lived. They had to travel at least a day to vote. People going to church on Sundays. People going to markets on Wednesdays. See what you think about those choices. I should put on lipstick. Okay. Next, read these sentences from the text. In the 1800s, most citizens worked as farmers and lived far from their polling place. Since people often traveled at least a day to vote, lawmakers needed to allow a 2-day window for election day. Weekends were impractical since most people spent Sundays in church, and Wednesday was market day for farmers. And we're going to know this really well. With this in mind, Tuesday was selected as the first and most convenient day of the week to hold elections. Which word best replaces with this in mind in the last sentence? So, with this in mind, Tuesday was selected. Previously, Tuesday was selected. Consequently, Tuesday was selected. Primarily, Tuesday was selected. Otherwise, Tuesday was selected. Selected, A, B, C, or D. I always reread the sentence and put the words back in. Next, which of the following is the most likely purpose of the passage? A, to persuade people to vote. B, to inform the reader about the agricultural history of the United States. C, to inform the reader about why voting occurs on a particular Tuesday in November. Or D, to persuade political leaders to move election day. The most likely purpose. Next, what is the central idea of the text? So, central idea. Before 1845, states were allowed to hold elections anytime they pleased within a 34-day period before the first Wednesday in December. B, in the 1800s, most citizens of the United States worked as farmers and lived far from their polling places. C, before 1845, early voting results could affect turnout and sway opinion in states that held late elections. Or D, election day is on a Tuesday in November because of the day's convenience for farmers in the 19th century America. Okay, guys, that's the end of day 5. They're supposed to be updating days 6 through 10. I would go ahead and read those, but we may see a little bit of changes in what I already have posted. If you've already done that work, of course, you'll get credit. I'm probably going to hide that from anyone who hasn't attempted. Only my really eager beavers, Courtney, Jaden, Lomas. I saw you guys were first in there for day 1. So good luck. Stay safe. Love you.